December 13, 1943. Second Lieutenant Philip Adair touched down at Nakajima Airfield after a grueling 3.5-hour patrol over the Hump Route, the perilous air corridor connecting India to China. The 23-year-old pilot of the 89th Fighter Squadron, 80th Fighter Group, known as the Burma Banshees, had just begun to unwind when the base alarm shrieked to life. Red alert! Incoming enemy aircraft. The loudspeakers crackled with urgency. A massive Japanese formation was approaching the Assam Valley, heading directly for Dinjan Airfield, a critical Allied logistics hub just miles away. Ground crews scrambled to refuel available P-40 Warhawks. Adair didn't wait. His aircraft, tail number 44, nicknamed Lulu, had just been topped off. He sprinted to his fighter, strapped in, and fired up the Allison V1710 engine. Within minutes, Adair was airborne again, climbing hard into the crisp morning sky. Behind him, his 3 wingmen, Lieutenant May and 2 others, were still taxiing, but time was a luxury they didn't have. Adair advanced his throttle and headed east, alone, toward the distant enemy formation. This wasn't the glamorous European theater, nor the island-hopping Pacific campaign. The China-Burma-India theater was a forgotten war, fought over brutal terrain with stretched supply lines and unforgiving weather. Here, every sortie held profound risk, and Japanese Army Air Force units, though no longer at their peak numerical strength, remained dangerous adversaries, skilled and tenacious. At first, Adair thought he saw 4 aircraft, a routine intercept, but as he closed the distance, banking Lulu for a clearer view, his blood ran cold. Not 4, not 10, 64. An aerial armada stretched across the sky, 24 Mitsubishi Ki-21 Sally bombers, escorted by 40 Nakajima Ki-43 Oscar fighters. The twin-engine Sallies, each carrying over a ton of bombs, flew in tight formation, their ventral and dorsal gun positions bristling with 7.7mm machine guns. The Oscars, nimble and deadly, weaved protectively around them. Adair understood immediately. This force was headed for Dinjan, home to vital fuel depots, maintenance facilities, and dozens of American B-25 Mitchell bombers and P-40 fighters. If this strike succeeded, it would cripple Allied air operations across the entire Assam Valley, disrupting the critical hump airlift that kept Chinese resistance alive. He was alone. His wingmen were minutes behind, still climbing. There was no time to wait for reinforcements, no time to formulate a coordinated defense. Philip Adair, in a single-engine fighter, was the only barrier between 64 enemy aircraft and catastrophe. The odds were beyond staggering. It bordered on suicide. Yet the thought of letting them pass, of watching Dinjan burn, was unthinkable. Adair shoved the stick forward, diving toward the lead bomber element. The roar of his Allison engine filled the cockpit as Lulu accelerated into a near-vertical plunge. Adair exploited the P-40's greatest asset, dive speed. While the Sally bombers were methodical, designed for level bombing runs, the Warhawk excelled in brutal, slashing attacks from altitude. Adair dived from 10,000 feet, building velocity. His 6 wing-mounted .5mm Browning machine guns aimed squarely at the lead Sally. At 400 yards, he opened fire. A torrent of armor-piercing incendiary rounds ripped through the bomber's port wing. Fuel tanks ignited instantly. The Sally exploded in a violent fireball, debris spiraling earthward, black smoke marking the first casualty. The shockwave from the blast jolted the adjacent bombers. Pilots instinctively broke formation, their carefully orchestrated bombing run now fractured. Adair didn't celebrate. He pulled hard on the stick, yanking Lulu into a sharp climb, using his residual energy to gain altitude. Behind him, the Oscar fighters reacted with fury. 40 agile interceptors peeled off, converging on the lone American who had just obliterated their lead aircraft. This was the deadly calculus Adair understood. The Oscars could outturn him in any prolonged dogfight. The P-40's strength lay in speed and durability, not maneuverability. His only tactic? Boom and zoom. Dive, strike, climb. Never engage in a turning fight. Never slow down. The airspace erupted into chaos. Tracers crisscrossed the sky, a lethal ballet of evasion and pursuit. Adair weaved through the swarm, the distinctive chatter of Japanese 7.7mm and 12.7mm machine guns echoing as rounds perforated his airframe. Metal pinged against metal. Warning lights flickered on his instrument panel. He executed a violent roll, narrowly evading a head-on pass by two Oscars. Pulling into a shallow dive, he built speed again, then snapped into a steep climb, forcing his pursuers to overshoot. The P-40's rugged construction absorbed punishment that would have shredded lighter fighters, but Adair could feel the aircraft changing. Controls sluggish, a shudder in the airframe. Still, he pressed on. He spotted another Sally attempting to regroup with the formation. Adair dove again, guns blazing. His rounds tore into the bomber's starboard engine, which erupted in flames. The Sally, mortally wounded, broke off, plummeting toward the jungle below. 2 down. But the cost was mounting. During his attack run, Oscars raked Lulu from behind. A sharp metallic crack signaled a direct hit to the right wing root. Coolant began streaming from beneath the engine cowling, a fine white vapor trailing behind him. The temperature gauge started its inexorable climb. The Allison V1710 engine, the heart of the P-40, was compromised. Coolant loss meant overheating. Overheating meant catastrophic failure. Adair reduced throttle, easing the strain, but that made him slower, more vulnerable. Then came the fire. Orange flames licked out from the engine cowling, fed by ruptured fuel lines and escaping oil. Smoke poured into the cockpit, acrid and choking. Adair's eyes burned. He quickly leaned the fuel mixture, starving the flames of oxygen, then opened the throttle wide, hoping to force coolant through the damaged system. The flame dimmed, but didn't extinguish. Below him, the Japanese formation, now thoroughly disrupted, abandoned their bombing run. The Sallies scattered, their mission compromised. The Oscars, seeing the lone P-40 trailing smoke and fire, assumed its imminent destruction and disengaged, turning back toward Burma. Adair had done it. Dinjan was saved. But now came the harder part: survival. Lulu was dying. The engine coughed, sputtered, then seized completely. The propeller windmilled uselessly. At 4,000 feet and 40 miles from Nakajima, Adair was now piloting a glider, a very heavy, very damaged glider. Then disaster compounded, a sharp metallic ping. The right aileron control cable snapped. The severed cable meant his elevator controls were reversed. Pushing the stick forward made the nose pitch up. Pulling back made it dive. Conventional flight was impossible. For most pilots, this would be the end. Time to bail out. But Adair, his mind racing despite the carbon monoxide haze creeping into his consciousness, saw a solution. If the controls are inverted, fly inverted. With a surge of adrenaline, he rolled Lulu onto her back. The world flipped. Sky became ground. Ground became sky. But the inverted controls now functioned normally. Pushing forward on the stick, now pointing at the sky, caused the nose to descend. Pulling back induced a climb. Adair was flying upside down, 40 miles from home, in a dead-engine fighter, trailing smoke. The flight back was a nightmare. Suspended by his harness, blood pooling in his head, vision blurring from carbon monoxide exposure, Adair fought to stay conscious. He manually cranked down the landing gear, a laborious, strength-sapping process normally done hydraulically. Each rotation of the hand crank was agony. Approaching Nakajima, Adair faced his final challenge. He needed to flip the aircraft upright at the last possible second to land conventionally. But timing was everything. Too early, and he'd lose control and crash. Too late, and he'd auger into the runway inverted. At 200 feet, he rolled Lulu upright. The damaged controls fought him. The P-40 wobbled violently, yawing left, then right. Adair wrestled the stick, compensating with rudder, but the aircraft was barely controllable. He crossed the runway threshold at a steep angle, nose high, sink rate alarming. Lulu slammed into the dirt strip with crushing force. The right landing gear strut buckled instantly. The aircraft veered wildly, spinning into a violent ground loop. Metal shrieked against earth. Dust and debris exploded skyward. The propeller shattered. The wing crumpled. When the dust settled, Lulu lay in ruins, a twisted, smoking wreck. Ground crew rushed forward, certain the pilot was dead. Then, movement. The canopy slid back. Second Lieutenant Philip Adair, disoriented, smoke-stained, but alive, climbed out. The December 13th engagement became legendary within the 10th Air Force. Adair's solo disruption of a 64-plane strike force saved Dinjan Airfield from catastrophic damage. His 2 confirmed kills and 2 probables were remarkable, but the true victory was tactical. He had single-handedly prevented a coordinated bombing run. For his actions, Philip Adair was awarded the Silver Star, one of the United States' highest decorations for valor. The citation noted his conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity in action against an enemy, and his extraordinary heroism in the face of overwhelming odds. But Adair's war didn't end there. He continued flying combat missions, eventually achieving ace status with 7 confirmed aerial victories. He flew 139 combat missions total, many in P-40s, later transitioning to the P-51 Mustang. His P-40, like many in the Burma Banshees, bore distinctive white wall tires, a unique personal touch, possibly the only P-40 in the theater with such markings. Lulu Bell, tail number 44, never flew again. The airframe was a total loss, its structure too compromised to repair. But the aircraft had done its job, absorbing incredible punishment and bringing its pilot home against all odds. The P-40 Warhawk often lived in the shadow of more glamorous fighters, the P-51 Mustang, the P-47 Thunderbolt, the British Spitfire. It wasn't the fastest, nor the most agile, but it was tough. Its armored cockpit, heavy armament, and rugged airframe made it a survivor. In the hands of a skilled pilot like Adair, it became a weapon of extraordinary effectiveness. Philip Adair retired from the Air Force in 1971 as a full colonel. He settled in Virginia, where he enjoyed fishing, family, and collecting Packard automobiles. He passed away in May 2017 at the age of 97, remembered not just for one incredible mission, but for a lifetime of service. The story of December 13, 1943, endures as a testament to individual courage, tactical ingenuity, and the unbreakable bond between pilot and machine. Against impossible odds, one man in one fighter changed the course of a battle. Lulu Bell and Philip Adair proved that sometimes, in the crucible of war, legends are born not from certainty of victory, but from the refusal to surrender in the face of defeat.